Here's a year of poetry. I hope you enjoy it. I am a pirate on charcoal sea, seeing love and blood and staving off scurvy one slice of sunlight at a time. I find that the horizon is most beautiful when it tries to hide, that the waves rocking and rolling under the floorboards of my soul enjoy the dance of change and possibility. How they continue to grow uprooted from the soil they once knew, I will never know. But it's wonderful, really, to sail with you. Cry like every drop is clear-cut diamond, and you were born into a wealth few will ever know. Your emotion coming directly from the stars, a novelty of substance travelers blister to find. Speak like the vapor and breath that dances letters out of your mouth and off your tongue. Work tirelessly to create the music that is your voice. An opera, an exclusive party with the most expensive ticket, and then give that golden ticket away for free to those cold and in need. Know that what you give is priceless, your emotion, your words, your presence. I want you to know your wealth, so that you may learn the value of sharing yourself. A deity here to bless these souls with the gift of your you. I want you to understand that you are expensive and wealthy. You can afford to live this life fully. I am a woman who commands courageous love. Something shuddering and shaking in its bravery. I create space for everything. So fill me. There is room in here for all you have to lay bare. Don't forsake a love this big for fear that your parts will be thrown out onto the lawn, tattered pieces of a past unloved. Don't forsake your right to unconditional by conditioning yourself to believe it does not exist. Don't love me with your heart barred and your teeth filed down into a smile made for emptiness. I want to know what it feels like to be full, to be brimming with the everything that you are. I refuse to give him your name. The man that hurt me in a million ways, the one who dressed like my father, who was too drunk to function, too drunk to show me the way, the one who lost his senses and used me, that one has a few faces. The first love who was too soft, the second love who lied too much, the third love who I thought was safe, all of them leaving me with scars I haven't the time to paint. I refuse to give that voice, the one who whispers memories of loss and fear and hunger into my heart. I refuse to give that voice your name. And I think that is a start, because that is what I used to do. I'd compound my hurt by naming my fear and the memories after the one I held closest, always waiting for a reason to run, always believing in believing, but never having the courage to truly believe that they were the one. I love how the snow slows us down, slippery on the pavement, soft on the headlights, and we sip steam, milk, and poetry, waiting for breakfast we get to eat slowly, the world muffled, the voices bouncing off the walls, dancing like ghosts, warm in contrast with the cold we shelter from. When someone hurts us, we become American, a system to take hate and create fuel. We think there are winners and losers, and if they hurt us, they must be punished for their crimes, but their crime is really the crime we claim. It's not the lie or the sex or the playing of games, just like a black man existing. The crime that is placed on their backs is anything but the words they are saying. And so it is true in love when bruised hearts are at play. The crime is that they made us believe we deserve to get hurt, that their ability to love and love well is a reflection of our worth. We demanded trial by fire, 1,000 cuts of explanation, death by reiteration, because if we believe their humanness to be the measure of our worth, we will die feeling less than, and they will die feeling even worse. Your value isn't dictated by your skin, nor is it lessened by sin. Your value isn't arbitrary, something to be determined by the court. It is intrinsic, regardless of the places they came up short. And when you remember this, the fact that you are enough, you may see that even in war, you still hold them with love. That in all the places they have yet to grow are adventures of expansion. It's up to you if you will choose to go. There is no court, no moral Bible to pray upon, just your heart and your voice, choosing what it means to move on. What if it gets cold? What if our marriage becomes a paycheck rather than poetry, and in your eyes I see ghosts where life used to glow? What if it ends in the worst way? in the slowly faded, untended vintage tattered in the wind, not the kind that is worn by children decades later or framed in lovely wood and glass, but the vintage left in the shed, with only dust and rust to keep it company. What if our love sours, and we learn to drink it anyway, our stomachs losing the will to churn just cold? What if our love runs cold? We will live in the discomfort of a death unseen. It will be suffocation similar to cigarette smoke, something we do a little every day until our lungs have taken enough. We will try until they give up. And we will die. But if the worst thing I find on the other side of loving you is death, then I say let it die. Because that is the only bargain that can be struck. If there is to be life, then there is to be death. I didn't make up the rules. And I know the discomfort of change is maddening, but loving you is worth every second of the fading that is sure to stretch your smile, soaked, skin bleached, and tired until all that is left is what hangs in the wind and blows through the trees. I think love is worth walking through discomfort for. I hope you choose a better love tomorrow, that you don't fall into available arms simply because yours ran cold. I hope you choose arms that know how to hold you, that you exchange looks with the cosmos every time you look into their eyes, and that you choose ones with shooting stars in them. I hope your eyes are the ones with shooting stars in them. I hope you learn the sensuality of patience, of waiting in the desire, allowing the knowing to pool at your feet, the sweetness of surrender to your own needs. I hope you fall in love with the wait, to drink in every detail of this second, the way the concrete rubs your feet, the way the sky never stops moving, the way your breath hitches and sighs to the rhythm of your own thinking. I hope you take in every detail. Allow the inspiration of this life to take you to your knees, and when you are down there, I hope you feel what pleasure lies in falling in love with the everything. I don't do mysterious, I do outrageous, uncommon, unique, but the only mystery I hold is in how I can exist, naked and free, everyone huddled in shrouds and secrecy, and I just let it all hang out for all to see. It's not a branding choice or something I grew into, it's just the way my skin was made to let you see through. I love those who can hide and play. It's fun to see them undressed, to lick the skin of mystery, to chart the stars on their flesh until I see in them a sense of freedom. A naked reprieve, reflecting the truth back at me that I am not unique. We are all capable of existing without shroud and secrecy. The mystery is in how we get out. Take a walk with me. I don't want the attention you give to me to be disassociative, a mindless mousetrap stuckness in a device built for mindlessness. I want the attention you give to me to be hungry. Exceptionally, utterly ready, a meal that must be eaten at a table polished by elbows and shattered plates with warm smiles and stiff drinks and love and the eyes you meet. That is the only attention I need. If my art doesn't set your table, that's okay. There are so many places and people ready and waiting to feed you. Make sure you are consuming what your soul needs. Our bodies are alchemical magic, a safe haven for fierceness. I became accustomed to counting the importance of the ridgeline in my ancestors' fingerprints, the marks of my mother and father's hands and how they molded me. This arm is firm for their grasp. I feel this deeply because he left. There was always someone else to credit, another person to blame, and it wasn't out of hate. I thought they'd feel good that they made something change. But I'm taking ownership of my body and the magic it holds inside. I am learning no matter the inspiration, I'm the one who animates this life. In navigating love, the true and the tried, the tasteful and the tasty, I found that true exploration often happens in the silence between my thighs. The way my whole body melts and sighs when I find peace in my aloneness. When the light flickering from a candle I lit myself dances softly, a friend in the darkness, I have found that the lengths I travel to love another is directly reflected in the depths I am willing to love myself. If we were fabric, poetry would be the thread, collecting all our loose patterns, lining them up and sewing us together end to end. Sometimes it's painful to connect so close, but at the end of the book, cheeks properly tear-soaked, we learn we aren't alone. And in our learning, we warm another's soul, becoming a blanket. We tend to see flawlessness in everyone but ourselves, forgetting that there are guts and bones under the crooked perfection of their smile, assuming their divinity is something they were sweetly kissed by, a love that chose them fully, in the way the sun refused to stop reaching until it has touched their cheek. We tend to assume they see this too, that when they look in the mirror, they are simply satisfied, or maybe even enraptured by their own beauty, their own perfection, that they too forget that blood pumps messily to keep them alive. But we are all molded by the way the sun stops short. How thoroughly we can see it and know its power and yet is stopped by the softness of the trees. Or the sureness of our buildings, we become creatures of shadow until we make it up ourselves, write divine on our skins until we believe that we aren't simply a commodity to be consumed, an animal too wild for the warm kiss of truth. We see love like a never-ending day. And when it's cloudy, we feel it will always be this way, that the heat of their love will always hide behind a cool, whispered kind of love, but love changes every sunrise. And even if you don't see it, the vapor will die, and you will be left standing, blood and bone and teeth, kissed by a love with nuclear heat. Hey you. I see you, and how you wear your beauty like a shroud, hiding the cosmic underneath a distancing frown. I see you, and how your beauty has become a burden, and I want you to know that your beauty is something worth owning. It's not what they told you it was. It's not something to be ashamed of. The way your body moves you from place to place, and how your head sits tall as you walk through space, the way your pelvis shifts to express your mood, and how your mind thinks of a world brand new. Your beauty isn't in your skin, though the tapestry is something to marvel. Your beauty lives in your bones, a monument carved from Grecian marble. You are a deity, something to worship and name, a creature of starlight and fierceness and grace. Your beauty isn't simple, nor is it shallow or sinful. Your beauty is cosmic, a living, breathing temple. Words are lovers. They pick up my head when it hangs heavy, my hand when I need adventure, my heart when it has been left on the floor, my body when I want something more. Words are my lovers. Their lips are revolutions and fire and rage, their arms a safe place to say, their shoulders are where my worries can rest, and in their pink, fleshy chest I can be me. In my perfection, in my utter mess. My voice used to hide itself away in text messages or college-ruled paper. It was a thing that practiced in front of a mirror until it was whittled down into something others could swallow. My monologue, my manifestos turned into bullet points, turned into silence. I practiced straining my voice, contemplating the necessity of my bones in connection to these thoughts, that if I could just separate the two, maybe both could be loved. Most things aren't sold whole. And people have forgotten how to chew, but I refuse to be pastel, to be diluted, dissected, disassociated on a track picked by somebody else. And that is what art does. It dares you to be all of you in every place. It dares you to take up space. I am tea, something worth waiting for. I need some time to become full-bodied, but I promise you there is a sweet spot between burnt tongues and gone in which I taste magnificent. So run the water if you would, and I will take off my dress to sit and pluck pink petals until the heat begins to set, and maybe you could play some too. A drum would do, and together we can make some music as my skin softens into something more palatable. I am tea, herbal if you please, here to calm your nerves and color your water in tones of beauty. At night, I tell myself I'll light a candle and relax. That'll turn off the noise of what I consume today and just digest. But then the light starts talking to me about the places I've yet to touch and how my fingers ache and grasp. How my mind soothes me with attention-grabbing to-do lists and maybes. It's painful to run while you're sitting, to dance only in your mind, to tally your productivity instead of your memories. Today, I painted something, and that's amazing. Because I had smiles with friends and smudges on my nose, not because I got to check that off the to-do list, but because I made a memory today. See, I can do this, can't I? And maybe the fire isn't speaking to me. Maybe it's the noise that chatters constantly, no matter what I am doing, the ick of unironed fabric, of their fingers on my skin, of yours on theirs, of memories that aren't even mine, but they keep me up at night, the bruises that refuse to go away, the glorious places I get to stay. The fact that I am really okay even when I am really not okay, and the fact that I am all of these words. and none of them at all at the very same time. Beauty isn't a finite resource. We've learned a value in a system of supply and demand, that if something is abundant, it is inherently worthless because anyone can have it. There's no fighting, no loser, just every person with the option to feel full. And it's no wonder that women claw at each other's skin, that they seethe and hate for the beauty in other owns, feeling always inadequate because beauty has so many forms, slopes, curves, sizes, colors. Beauty is an array that we all must hold. Not a single human can embody the way beauty hangs differently on all of our limbs. To attempt that would be monstrous, truly grotesque. So instead, we must investigate the notion of value and worthiness. Instead, we must redefine what it means to be valuable. Instead, we must throw away the concepts of contrast in the process of loving ourselves. Instead, we must learn that abundance and availability doesn't negate the inherent worth of the individual that passes your lips and invades your life. Instead, we must embrace an infinite world with infinite value. They tell you that sticks and stones may break your bones, but words should never hurt you. And I think it's interesting to tell children that the incantations from cool lips mean nothing. They should learn to not care or not notice or not hear, instead of learning that sometimes when hurt people speak, they forget that words are meant to heal. And today I wish I could write something light, something that smells of blooming flowers and grass after rain. I wish I had words to remind the stiff and scared splinters of my bones that they are safe and wild and free, that there is actually nothing willing to break them. I wish that these words that fall from my lips were something sweet, like honey, the way bees buzz in my mind and grow caverns in my belly to hide in, but they aren't. They are something thicker, with sinew attached to bone and vein and blood. Words pooling in my cheeks are ones like speak the fuck up. The world needs your voice, and you are worthy of every goddamn thing you pray for, and you are beautiful in a way poetry will always fail to explain, but fuck if I don't try. And it'll get easier. And when it's hard, know that you were built to withstand hurricanes and collapsing glaciers. So that feeling in your chest that feels like taking on too much salt water is nothing in comparison, and you are loved. Right down to the atoms that make you up. And it's okay to be scared sometimes. And if you played the role of an asshole today, apologize and move on. Because we all play the role of assholes some days. And maybe words don't mean anything. But the way words make us feel mean the world, because in this life and all the daydreaming and working and crying and bleeding, in this life, all we are searching for is a feeling. And I think that makes words so very powerful. Sometimes I feel like an unruly child in the worst of ways. In the inability to settle into the mundanity that is living. How I wake up every day praying that the magic has returned, that the sky will shake and howl and change by the way of my mood, that the creatures in this land will remember they have power too. I feel like a child when I do everything in my ability to believe in you. You being magic itself, the fact that iron and fire and salt send my blood aflame. And why is it this way? Why must there be shame? Why can't we believe in the moonstone stars and how they guide us through the stories in the dark? Why can't we dream of a world more whole and free, something fantastical and serene? Why is it childish to believe? See, sometimes I feel like a child in the best of ways, in my innate ability to be and to play, and how my body never forgets how to make my soul sing, that the world outside is never what it seems. I feel like a child when I do everything in my ability to believe in you. You being the unknown, star-splattered darkness, that very thing that never ceases to grow. I can feel it in the soil-drenched roots on my tongue. I can smell it in the smoke-slick lashes of my hair. I can see it in the screeching sunrise of your eyelids. There is magic here. There is magic here. Did you know that I compare everyone to you? I look for your hands, your arms, your sweet, steely blue eyes, and I can't find them anywhere but with you. When I make love or fuck for fun, I want your eyes to be the eyes I look into. And when I wake up in the morning groggy and sleepy, I want to feel you squeeze ever closer to me so we can whisper I love yous into each other's ears. I want to learn and become a better person. And if I have it my way, I'll get to do that with you by my side. See, because you're the first man that made falling in love feel like poetry. And I never knew what it meant to be a muse until I saw how you painted me. You're the first man to make me want to be bigger and braver than asking me to shrink. See, because your voice is my favorite voice. And there is no laugh better than the one with your beautiful eyes crinkled and sweaty. Your mind blows me away. And I love when you take me on a journey or a story, or when we can just simply sit there together in peace. See, because you remind me that I am magic. And I now have belief. I believe in the stars and in the cards and in the way you make me feel. I want your hand on my thigh for every long drive. I want to eat across from you for every meal. I want to experience life and love to the depths we both fear, to breathe underwater with you until we inevitably disappear. Sometimes the heart feels so much more than a collection of cells. The few pounds of sinew and blood feels like a holy thing, like everything, and it pumps through my body the experience of something transcendent. And sometimes the heart seems anatomical, my love a thing to dissect and graph and project. Sometimes I love with abandon, and sometimes love feels like a road to being abandoned. My biggest fear is that I won't notice it, that I'll dim myself for someone slowly and surely until my flame is less than a 6 a.m. candle. I'll be nearly nothing but wax and gray. My biggest fear is that my compassion will turn to weakness and my boundaries will crumble, and all the adventures I take in love will be in truth the history of my capture. And I fear the very opposite, that I will stay headstrong and willful to my last breath, that the world will harden me, and my fear of capture will leave me feral and lonely, that I will take every measure in my capabilities to fend off shrinking to the point that I have no one but my reliance for company. Porcelain walls frame the mountainsides, wild and free, warm and safe. My bare feet make love to the cool concrete and artisan rugs under toe. The low-lying couch hangs your arms perfectly, spread sweetly, heart open wide, and your cheeks hitch into a grin, a dazzling display of I want you to be mine. So the love-making walk towards my lover quickens until soft plush stuff hits my knees. His hands dance from rest to trace topography down my spine, ascending the ridge line, curving steep at my hips. As he reaches the peak, his strong hands pull me fully onto him, fully into me, and I breathe like I'd forgotten for a lifetime. I love falling in love with faces that I have yet to even name. I love to imagine how a lover may see them, how I'd adore the crinkle in their nose, or how they throw their head back in laughter. Revere them for how they carry the imaginary weight life has laid on their shoulders. I wonder what they love too, and how they keep that light in their eyes, and then I imagine missing them, attempting to memorize the slope of their nose, the silhouette of their brows, reaching all the way down to those sweet, wicked lips and chin, sunlight dripping. And then, as they turn and speak to their friends or move to another part of the room, I wonder how I might learn to hate that face. How that flowered smile could crumple in my mind, how irritation and frustration could cloud the way the sun reflects off of you. And then I remember that I don't even know your name. Sorry for staring. You reminded me of someone I love. Life is shorter than we think. It all goes in a blink, we just don't know which blink, and I'm ready to live before I die. And that in and of itself is a gift, because so many of us don't ever live before they die. Some of us wait our whole lives to be given the permission to be who we are and go for what we want. I'm ready, though. And ready is much like a birthday. The moments leading up to ready feel so much like the weeks leading up to the day you're considered a year older. How does it feel, they ask, to be a year older? It always feels of sameness, but you are older, you did grow, and looking back a year or 5 or 10 will tell you that all that sameness walked a rainbow of change. And now I'm ready. I'm more ready than yesterday had to give to me, and less ready than I'll be tomorrow, and it's all the same, really. The gift of being ready. I have so much less tension in my body to change it, to fix it, to be something I am not. I know now that the fighting won't do it. But poetry might. Sitting in their arms late into the night, or truly finding purpose behind your fight. It just might. There isn't fixing to be done, but growth will happen if you ask for it or not, and surrender will take me regardless of the tension in my muscles, and love will find me, even if I insist on its non-existence. See, life happens anyway. We move on anyway. The pain and the pleasure happens anyway. So we're given a choice. Do we let it in, or do we resist it? Do we live, or are we just waiting to die? For me, I'm ready.
Thanks, you guys. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like the mood lighting or the music when I'm like excited. This poem is all about the slow moments. I want the slow moments. The ones that pitch and fill and ride through the countryside at the peak of summer as the sun dives behind corduroy mountains. I want to feel the heat and slick of the steam clinging to your skin and clean bed sheets. Lips dancing and asking and pleading with the stars. I want to melt into misty nights with fog blurring the lights into a soft vintage glow. To feel your sweet kiss on my burning cheeks and eyelids. I love you in every wave your body makes against mine. A desert beach coaxed into vastness with every heartstring pulled by the moon, pulled by you. I want to take my time. All of the time that can be taken in the pursuit of loving you well. Curiosity dancing and dripping from my fingertips and tongue, a voyager across tapestries of hair and skin, a playful devotion to expansion. And when our bodies are spent and the air is full of the incense of midnight, I want to breathe in the salt from your hair, kiss the crease between your brow, hold your tender, tired muscles until they exhale and shiver in the chill billowing from the window. The chill of I am loved, rustling sun-stained and star-dyed curtains. I want the whispers of our words to smolder. A gray smoke sent to tell the mother of our joy. I want the laugh and face-smushed giggles that escape our chest to cackle fire into the folds and elbows of two bodies entwined in one. I want to do this forever. Allow minutes to drop what defines them, leaving a rumpled pile of cloth on ancient foot-worn hardwood floors. To allow time to stand naked and unlabeled before us, perfectly unknowable and lovely all the same. I want to let time join us in our lovemaking, to be embraced by the velvet darkness of space itself, come to earth to see what skin and flesh feels like when they too have skin and flesh. Woo! To lick the soot of our whispers that we prayed into the sky from their peaked chest. To explore the unearthly and the supernatural that was drawn into the texture of their fingerprint. To feel it as they brush and awaken roses on my skin. Watch as it inspires laughter from yours. Until we too are lost in what moves incredibly slowly. So slow we may miss it as it shoots across the sky, granting wishes to lost souls bruised from kneeling on beds colder than this. Weary from praying to frigid skies without fire burning in their laughter. I want to explore softly what has only ever known brute force. To love what has only ever known the cages of fear and smallness and rushed lovemaking. I have nothing to prove in a body built for experience, so I will teach my lungs how to ache for the oxygen they crave. I will show my fingertips how to know the different shades of flowers that bloom on your skin, a blindness to simplicity, always grasping for the complexity. I will name every scent the sun and moon makes in the sky, and how it plays with the scent of the love of my life, an aroma of charred mountain peaks and quartz crystals. I will soak myself in the everything that surrounds us, so that we may one day arrive into a world of love
have roses on my eyelids and mint in my pores. I cried today. I cried for the little girl inside that made herself available to love always, and for the love that wasn't always available. I cried for I will never be as beautiful as the sum of humans in front of me, and that has to be okay. Maybe I didn't come here for available love and mathematical beauty. Maybe I came here to place roses on my eyelids and rosemary on my skin, and to call to the goddess to heal me from the wounds I know and the wounds that remain nameless. Maybe I came here to learn that there is no such thing as unavailable love, just unavailable humans. Maybe I came here to learn that I am beautiful just the way I am, not from bust or hip, but for the fire that burns underneath my translucent skin. And maybe it's even okay to cry. My mother always said tears are the body's way to keep your heart from drowning, so I add salt to the water I lay in. And I think about how forgiveness is like water in a cup full of dirt and mistakes. I think about how forgiveness washes it all away, messily and perfectly and completely. Maybe I came here for that. To learn how to forgive messily and perfectly and completely, to love always, to find the beauty. Maybe I just came here for the roses. To women who ignite for the world, who use themselves up and create magic from their bones, to women who inspire the masses to rise from their bent positions of self-pity and servitude, thank you. For you have inspired me to stand for more than materials or objects, to look for more than compliments or adoration in the souls that I entwine my life with. You've inspired me to create and to burn in love for a world that burns for destruction or distraction rather than creation, and fights for hate rather than love. I am in awe of the passions we keep bottled up inside to reside in the whole of our souls, feeding a void that like a black hole will never be sated because its very nature is to stay hungry. I am in awe that we live so fully in the lack of that void when we have the choice to leave it behind, to set it down on the velvet black between the stars where it can continue to feed on what desires to be consumed. See, you have the choice to pour soil and rain onto the asphalt of your being, until green growth begins to deliberately break up the pain and the carnage and the scabs of your past so that you may grow something fruitful rather than feed your energy to a nothingness that never gives anything back. You know what is profoundly sexy? Clearly stated desires and expectations, not only in intimate relationships, but in daily conversations in life. My knees beg for bruises so that my lips may kiss the hips of those who use words like they come free. In shyness, or maybe it's a desire to end the discomfort of intimacy early, we begin to shorten our language. We pull words from a shallow purse, saying, I'm only rich enough to afford the ambiguity of what I think you want to hear over the truly wild heartbeat of my feral desire. And the transaction is made. What you've purchased is a mask that makes you feel certainly loved in the most desolatingly unlovable way possible, and we've all done it. Dressed up, as the veil between here and there draws near, and the fear that we will be seen with our mouths salivating for the sweetness of life. So we play dress up and do dances instead. In the most socially acceptable ways possible, we seek what we need and hope that our convoluted half-asking will bring it to us. But you know what is so much better? The bareness of asking for what you want, with the sureness that you will get it, even if the eyes that meet yours right now don't understand it. For you have seen yourself in the confusion of your naked daydreaming, and you know your skin is only a sin if you use it for others before yourself. That your hopes are like clouds coming to change the way sunlight hits your face, and in all the shades your hopes make your life so much more dynamic and beautiful. You become so close to the necessity of having your needs met that saying you have needs becomes a sacred right into the holy land of your unique, divine loving. Your clarity becomes a doorway. It says, do you have what it takes to meet me? It says, in your authenticity, can you truly, deeply love all of me? It says, it's safe to say what you've been holding back. And I love that. I love when women ask for attention And when small business owners set their prices at their worth. I love when men don't know how to explain their feelings, so they say all of the sides, all of the words, until at the very least you can sit beside them in their confusion. I love when humans choose to change their name or identity, when they throw away all their clothes to try out a new iteration of their soul in a pattern the old version didn't know. I love it when they're honest about their pain and their pleasure. I love it when it's uncomfortable, because that means we are getting somewhere. Somewhere that isn't the comfort of conformity, the shallow casket of normality, somewhere big enough for all of us to find out what it means to be big. Your words aren't expensive. And even if they were, I'm here to let you know that you're wealthy enough to use them. Sometimes I forget what it feels like to laugh in the way real people laugh. Full diaphragm contractions and odd noises, muffled into hands or crooks of necks, with teary eyes and blushed cheeks, spit or water slipping from between your teeth. But then I have days so mundane that I remember how magical normal is, how beautiful right now is. But then I wake up with your arms around my waist and I think how funny it is that we get to play pretend at human at the same time. I think how wonderful it is that your name exists next to mine in poetry and event tickets. I think maybe that's what real people feel like. They feel like slow mornings and groggy, maybe I am not even real ponderings, and I love you whispered in feral moaning. Real people sometimes forget they even have diaphragms. That breathing and laughing and singing is born right into them. Real people forget what it means to be real sometimes. And they get lost in the sauce of seriousness, saute the beauty of living in refined oil until it's a crunchy, empty thing, a pretending without playing thing, a here but not really thing. So I am grateful for the way life reminds me of the muscles wrapped around the sun in my chest, how it gives me people like you to laugh with through the unrest, and how mundane and magic are really the same thing. Neither are understood, and both pose an exceptional escape. I didn't ask for joy. I asked for something with more texture, something to show me the world without censure, a true adventure. I asked for something to change me, name me, eventually erase me. I asked to know what soil felt like inside my lungs, to grow strange flowers from my tongue, to dance at night among foreign stars, to meet faces like my own, born cosmically, maybe Venus or Mars. I asked for art, for death, and for love. And when you ask me if I'm happy, I don't know if that question is enough. I want you to ask me if this life is expanding, if my skin feels ready to become tapestry, marking a safe landing, if love has damaged me or managed to transform me, or if maybe I believe those two words to mean the same thing. Instead of joy, you could ask me if it's satisfying, if these stories are gratifying, if I find within myself Zeus's lightning, a zest for fighting, a world worth living, an ever-evolving being. I didn't ask for joy, no. I asked for slick gravel on rain-drenched roads, for smiles bigger than the rim-denting potholes, for love that challenges me, and for art that stitches me, and for questions like these, the ones that see me. Outside the mind's need for simplicity, a never-ending symphony of our dialogue turned story, turned breathing. When I open my eyes, I trust there to be a world to see. And when I reach out my hand, I trust there will be flesh to stop me. And I hate it when people don't like me, when they measure me up something less than worthy, when the story they write is heavy and shocking, doused in a hurt of their own making. But I'm learning to take my reflections with water in the morning, medicine in perspective, a soft and gentle warning, because what I really hate is to hate my reflections. Like eyes in glass could ever hold my veracity, as if this story could ever be mistaken for reality, as if it will ever matter what they think of me. See, my toes prefer soil with truth in it, something with spaciousness. My heart beats best in willingness, and it's okay if I'm your villain. I'm making peace with this. If my humanness is insulting or if my art lacks consciousness, I'm learning not to care because my energy is priceless. I'm choosing to use it to build more room for lightness, for wholeness, for a world where my allness can meet the nothingness. Birth the next generation of artists, creative fatalists, lovers, and extremists. It's okay if you don't get me. If this story isn't the story you want to be reading, because no one made you pick up my book. Your focus is your power. Watch where you trust to look. I'm learning the language of silence, of stars, of bodies, seeing affirmation in the rise and fall of your chest, the way your hands caress tongue-tied in a small summer dress. I love words. They clutter my mind so full I don't have to think of what color my pain is wearing today. I don't have to manage the memories that never seem to fade away, and I can focus on the mantra, on the poetry, on the words that fall as flat as paper in the flame that is living. But you are teaching me the texture of truth that exists solely in the it's safe for you in your entirety, in the my skin and your skin are better friends than I ever could have imagined, in the I've always known but now I have the strength to know it. Sometimes we don't need more words. Sometimes we need to crawl into a bed so sure we can mistake the peace for sanctuary, melt in the places the normal world finds wary, becomes so soft it's extraordinary. Sometimes the words aren't necessary, and I can see the truth without commentary. I'm able to believe in a way so innate, it's like it was meant for me, already a part of me intrinsically, something blushed and bleeding, a full-on beating, heart and lungs singing expression of simply being. The sun rises with reason in the morning, and I lie awake far too long to maybe hear the whispers of the moon. It's something lost in wandering moments. Time doesn't even exist anyway, and I am sweating now. Sweating with reason myself, reason to be here and a reason to leave here. I am soaked in the knowing that lightning blooms like spring in the darkness. Flowers cutting and cracking across the sky. Change is inevitable. I am change, and I am inevitable. I am blooming and cutting and cracking across this life, running from and to and nowhere all at once. I just crave these inevitabilities, these wild assurities, the truth so fibrous it must be drawn with 8 legs and silk to connect those bursting flowers in the night sky. Constellations or webs or knowledge, largeness or smallness or all at onceness. So salt sticking to my skin and reason clinging to my mind, I move to rise with the sun. To forgo my craving for the moon and meet the sunburns where they feel best in adventure. I rise and I wander into my day like this day is an entirely different kind of day than the days that I've had before. Like my senses have grown to understand texture as if it tastes of something sweeter. As if colors could sing melodies from planets we have yet to discover. As if screaming has become the very best breathing. As if walking is the lovemaking my body has always been craving. I rise with sweat and chaos and the burning desire to understand the fire that is living in this life. I don't know how to take up space. My voice, it shakes, and I often see what's going on. The truth, the hearts with guitar strings instead of guns, but I am often blind. I hold no authority, and if my perspective shakes you, then I'm the one who wrote your story, and that's not even remotely true, but it feels that way when you speak your truth, and people agree and people don't. It's all a story. And you, the scapegoat, the messenger gets shot, bystanders stand by, and it's hard to tell the difference between healing and breaking. If my words shatter you, is it medicine I'm making? Or have I begun to pull at strings that'll have you undone in the way that never gets sewn together again, an ode to the pile of clothes in the corner I have yet to fix? What I'm saying is that eggs are my very favorite breakfast food. And instead of throwing the shells in the bin in the morning, I laid them out in front of me so I can walk on them everywhere I go. I am very aware that most people aren't, and I've been searching for my place, for the space, for a way to speak my piece, find more ease, and I think the problem has always been me. Clinging to the thought that what it already is worth preserving, that comfort even exists in the spaces I fertilize with my bleeding breakfast feet, that my voice isn't worth listening to if it comes out rough. So, this might be tough, but I don't want to hold back anymore. I don't want to be the silent documenter of subtext in foggy rooms. I don't want to swallow my tongue and choke on half-truths, so it might make you uncomfortable. But I'll say what must be said. And if that bothers you, then that's really too bad, because I'm not scared of what is, even if you are. It may not be my responsibility, but even cells change when they know they're being observed, so maybe this is how I make my impact, allowing what I see to be heard. I'm changing, and it's good this time, because this time I'm not running from something horrendous. I'm not fighting against something tremendous. I am simply changing. In the way the grass grows grayer in the fall. It's something natural and savored, even if it's not as pretty as it was. So I thought I should let you know that change can happen like the sky, that we don't have to burn it all down to give something new a try. It's funny how we often want for what we don't have. I think it's given wanting a bad name because it's so very good to be thirsty when you're willing to pour yourself a drink. And it's fantastic to crave when you are certain there is food to eat, and even in flesh. That thing they say we shouldn't have, even flesh aches sweetly when there are willing bodies at hand. So maybe it isn't wanting, but our fear that we won't be met, that has made us so sure that wanting is something we should never have. You're a badass. It's something I told my mom when she told me about all the leather jackets and motorcycle rides, and now I hear it every time the world goes sideways, when I'm not sure about myself, when the mountains seem to grow legs and feet as I try to climb them. You're a badass, she says. I guess being a badass means crying in your car because you aren't sure you got this. I guess being a badass is letting your heart bleed even when love can't seem to mend it. I suppose being a badass is living this life anyway, through the fear and through the uncertainty. And then being a badass is telling the story with a wild smile in the fire of your eyes, as if it was exactly how you hoped it would be. Maybe it is exactly how I hoped it would be. I believe in you. You are enough. Doodles, reminders that you can do it, even when it's tough. I am struggling to see the faith behind the clouds. Sometimes it's all so big, and I can't seem to make a sound, but I believe in you. It's something I say a lot. I think if I repeat myself, eventually it will feel like enough. I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in you. Concepts aren't made of concrete. You get to change your mind, and I know we're trying to build something here, but I have to wonder if there are better ways to spend your time. It's not like we must convince the trees to grow or for the moon to set. It's not as if we don't already have a world to play in. The thing we're building already exists. So maybe we don't have to build skyscrapers in our mind, analyzing the reasons we are here or cataloging yours from mine. Maybe we can explore what it means to be alive without attachment to an outcome. See, because none of us will survive. So we might as well have some fun with it, learn to love all the sensations, even the ones that are hard to be with, eat fruit that drips down our chin, laugh and talk until night turns to morning. We might as well discover and push our limits, see what we can do just to see if we can do it, because it's all just a concept. Nothing will remain the same. You get to choose your direction, how seriously you play this game. I tend to old wounds like it's the only fire in my forest, kneeling close and whispering oxygen into the flames, reminiscing, saying, I will always remember what happened. And it's wild of me to believe that this is the only heat allotted to me, the heat of a simpering campfire, begging to be let out because the stars only stay out so long. I'm surrounded by fire, even if it feels all gone, and I know it's just a reflex, the way one holds their knee after shedding it on cement. You hold on to what has happened. Because what if it develops something worse? But these little flames are nothing more than lanterns or stray nighttime candles, something screaming that I have lived a life of fire and I want something wilder. So maybe I will burn it down, set off a chain reaction, sending everything somewhere else, and maybe the sun will rise too, and the day will be light and fire and something completely brand new. I know there are a million poems about how the sun colors the sky. But I have to say, if we are going to spend time repeating ourselves, then why not talk about the sky and how she loves so many so well? How the sun paints watercolor in the clouds, and when he's done, the moon and stars tell stories of eons. And what about the rain? The bows and the magic there, I don't know. It just seems better than dwelling on our fear or repeating pain in our mind or even focusing on what must happen. Things will take their time, and if I have to wait for a moment or a lifeline, I'd rather wait contemplating the sky. I often say I don't like work, and it's often true, but what I mean when I say that is that I don't believe in laboring for something that lacks all soul. See, because if I love it, I will bruise and bleed for the thing. I will break myself and love every moment of the dissolving. I will take my time, do it right, listen to the muse as she sings to me at night. I will dream on it and wake for it. And when it's really good, I will love myself better for it too. But there is a sense of posturing in the world of hard work that says to sweat is to be enough. And I just have to say that bullshit has got to stop, because we are worthy of the stars and the sun. The world has shared itself with us. We have already won, so no. I do not wish to sell my body and mind. I will not take myself out of pleasure just to prove that I can, and it's okay to choose work that makes you slave in something sweet. You don't need to do what hurts just to feel complete. We talk about lighting ourselves up, about the ignition, the inspiration, the muse. What we don't talk about is how we stop, how we melt and stagnate, how wildly liberating that can feel too. I wonder of the ponds of autumn, with the fish moving slower and the leaves floating in the water and the everything dying slow. I wonder of the infatuation we have for such things and how we could ever call our own slowness anything but mesmerizing, that in the moments of decay we are just as captivating. I wonder how we can obsess on our failings too, how we can call them fantastic and dramatic and something to look forward to, how the things must die, how we in identity and reality must die too. I wonder how we can expect these things with as much adoration and reverence as we do what blooms. You're supposed to do what comes to you like breath does. And when you hear that, I'm sure you imagine the thing that is easiest, but breathing doesn't come easy, it just does. It must. It's imperative, it's necessary. I can't tell you how many times my breath has been stolen from me, or I've run away from it, or I have held it out of fear. I can't begin to explain to you the depths of breath that this life has taught me. How drinking in air is the best for singing. If I only use my mouth, it's like I'm ascending. And if I need more power, then through my nose it should go. You see, breath continues to surprise me. It's something that I get to know every day. So when I say you should be doing what comes to you like breath, I mean you should follow that thing that must exist. The thing that teaches you every day. The imperative, the necessary, that every road leads to this place. That is how you should be spending your days. Your wrinkles aren't fault lines. They will not split you open, and they are not proof of any wrongdoing. We come into this world a planet with no terrain, slick and sweet all the same, and if we are lucky, our skin will change. We will grow mountains and valleys and trails worth tracing. They will tell stories, ones you'll want to read before time starts erasing, and it'll be beautiful in a way we can't even comprehend, because we've been sold something sinister, a lie about where our value stands, and I look forward to the day I can praise my sister's wrinkles and cackle at the gray in our hair, knowing that every line is proof that we made it, and we are not worse for the wear. For every divot and color we collect on our skin is a mark of adventure. The places we lit life in will have become monuments to a life lived well. Can you imagine anything better? There is no easier sell. But look at you, they say. You're a white Arabian, gold not even fire can touch. How can you doubt your worthiness to receive love? And all I think is that I've always been this way. My value has never wavered, my beauty never changed, the heart I give or the love I pay, and yet presence is often at bay. The trust and honesty is saved for another day, fear leading love astray, and all I'm asking for is for you to be brave. I don't want perfection, or for you to see that in me. I don't need you to validate my worthiness, because I have that already. What I'm asking for when I ask if you love me is if you're willing to grow. If I need you, will you show? How about when it's tough, when we both feel unfixably stuck? Even then, will you make sure I can feel your love? Share your touch, sit with me a while with a tender smile and remind me of all the little stuff? I don't need to be reminded of what I deserve. What I like is for you to reassure me that you have the nerve. Not because I don't think you have it, but because there's a small part of me that is as bad as they gave it, and I doubt, and I fear, and I hold myself at bay. Sometimes I'll be the one to remind you, but could you be the one to remind me today? I want to be one of those people that take trips with my head out the window, screaming into the pines like it's a war cry. a freedom ramble, something so sure it must echo off the ancient wood, and I want to look at my friends that are more like family, or maybe they're family and I just enjoy them like they're friends. But either way, I look at them and the dew in our eyes is from something spectacularly joyous, something only we can laugh at, a moment in time you must be there to appreciate. And I want to travel until we ache with hunger and must stop somewhere unplanned. In this place I want to meet new faces and learn their odd names, eat food I wouldn't have chosen, but love especially, and sleep in a strange room with linen I'd rather not contemplate, to wake up again for another day of window-leaning screams and the ecstasy of chasing our dreams. I'm not going to tell you I'm proud of you for doing that thing you didn't want to do, because I'd rather watch you do it your way than watch you learn how to not be yourself, wasting away day by day. There are tasks in this life that must get done. Character be damned, but I am not the person to tell you not to take your stand. If I see you writhing and wishing and in pain, I will not be the one with plastered smiles, gold stars, and praise. I'll be the one to remind you of your truth that says, but what if you're you? I will demand of you your you-ness, that muchness, the thing that makes you fearless. You don't need gold stars, praise, or to do it right. What you need is to feel what that kind of bravery feels like. That bravery that lives vibrating under your skin, that thing called you, no matter how hard you try to pretend. Is it a sign of care to torment yourself for love? To sit and wallow and waste in its name? Is that the measure we take when sizing up devotion, how largely we are willing to break for another? Or is it in the taboo? In the places that are avoided, for the people and the feelings we are not allowed are often the most enticing. The shadows the most engulfing. Is it love to do what we are told we should not? And yet I am unwilling to lie, to say that I don't have a desire to control rooms that my love opens in, not because I do not believe in a free love and a warm, open loving, but because I have been shown the very opposite. I have bloomed in places bent and bleeding. I have given myself in hands that left me wanting. I have been bruised in the places I believed in trusting. So now it is hard to let my heart beat free. I feel it in the cage I lock it in, and when I feel like running, I wonder if your love is as challenged as mine. If you care to care that much. And I wonder if my measure of care is broken, because I know if I were to leave, you would be okay. And I would want you to be okay, but in my heart, the young thing that learned to love in a troubled way would want you to break too. Because if I were to lose you, the artist in me would feel the death. There would be poetry to that effect, and I would depress and wallow and dramatize, because that is how I have learned to show my affection. To suffer in the name of loving, and yet you have taught me a love that is better than what I have known. And not because there are fireworks or birds eating from my palm as we walk through idyllic snow. It's not because of perfection or fairy tale dreams. It's because you love yourself well enough to not love in the way I have known. You have learned that no one deserves to take your peace. There is not a beauty or a pleasure or a body worth that. And again, the artist in my mind thinks, how boring. To not crumble in love, to not lose yourself in love, to not play the game of something foreign and magical. But when I lose my hours and my days and my years to the trouble those games have caused, I think, maybe you aren't so wrong. That maybe the distraction of such a story is not as beautiful as I once thought. That maybe the most powerful love stories happen when you find someone who dares you to love yourself better than that. Better than fireworks and melting snow, better than a love that runs you so high there is always a devastating low. Maybe to love is to shut your eyes slightly to the coarseness of our truths, that we are all imperfect, that we all can abuse, that even in our hurt, in our loss, and in our pain, we deserve a sense of peace, and we shouldn't give it another name. We shouldn't hand it to a human rough and beautiful like ourselves and tell them that they can only prove their devotion, their love, by protecting it above all else. That job is our own. Not our lovers or our friends. It's not their place to keep our peace. It's their place to be them, so that we may be ourselves too, in love or in not, but always whole, always true. There was another woman, much like myself, someone who loved with strong fingers shoved down her throat, refusing to stomach what came to feed her. There was another woman, I couldn't see it at the time, who loved in the way I loved, with understanding and patience that took far too much time. There was another woman, much like myself, and I hated her a while, for our wounds were puzzle pieces, reflections of the pain we were both dealt. But it's important to see that in the pain, we both shared a love that defines immensity, something larger than morals or rules or rights, something bigger than space, something more beautiful and fine. It may have hurt. the truth that everything changes. But if I have to share all that I love with the glutton that is time, I must learn to see myself in everything I can't claim as mine. I have only ever left a love when it has turned so cold, necromancy and witchcraft must be endeavored. And even then, I do my best to learn the function of embalming, to fall in love with the texture of suture, and I wonder if that was kind. To nurture something into the earth when it could have had more life, I wonder if it is death that ends all things, or an inability to recognize when our place has changed. I wonder if I've yet learned to swim, if what surrounds me is water or just the thought of it. See, because most of my life I've believed in believing, hoped to hope. There has always been a removal, a step to close, and I want to touch these things before I'm gone. To love in a way that drowns me, the certainty of knowing, the faithfulness of feeling. I want to learn to swim in what others have coined living, rather than just thinking of it. Yes, this world will ask you to break for it. There are depths and darknesses that we all must marry, but I want to ask you if you've allowed yourself the terrors of goodness, the true horror of joy, the unearthing that is softness, for we spend so much time in the traumas of our shadows without witnessing the blindness that is our light. The flesh on these bones is so often a baggage to carry, a story I don't remember choosing. The skins that have me assume someone or something does not always align with what feels true in the bloodiness of my soul, the solar chaos of my truth, the freckles and lightness and curves or lack thereof sometimes have me assume something I am not. Human for one, whole for two, meant for someone, meant for you. I wonder sometimes what it would feel like to be light, to not weigh myself down with expectations and to fly when my bones ache for flight. I wonder if my body is a distraction, an instrument, or both. I wonder if I am playing it right, or if it's all just white noise. Sometimes I torment myself with the thoughts of you leaving, because we all leave in the end. Either you're saying goodbye or they are, but sometimes I slice myself open with your leaving. Maybe to feel something, maybe to begin building scar tissue so the real thing doesn't end me too. Maybe this world taught me to fear change and fear death and fear moving, because to embrace the constant that is transition would be to witness the power of everything. And if I can witness that, I can do anything. What if we decided to do anything? I don't think we recognize the truth of the word embrace often enough. I think we use it and it sounds lovely, but we've forgotten what it feels like to press our whole beings up against a thing, to wrap our limbs around it, to share our heartbeat, to breathe in unison. I think we use a lot of things in this way. We know of its beauty, but forget to let it inside of us, to let it be us, to experience it outside the mind's playful chaos. So if you haven't thought on it lately, I wonder if you could exhale and reach for the life you're embracing, to pull in the goodness of a love, something charcoal covered and freshly bloomed. I want you to claw delicately at the petals of this rosebud world, at your thorn and oil covered skin, to see, no, to feel the drumbeat of earth and star inside your veins, inside your ears, in your arms, for the thing that you hold so dear, the thing we beg to embrace, the thing we call living. Most every day I wonder if I'm allowed to be loved well. If the gifts that are given to me, the gift that leaves me softened and weak, if those gifts are gifts that were meant for me. Because sometimes we ship things to the wrong address, and sometimes those people needed what was sent to them. And I wonder sometimes if you got lost in transit and found yourself at my sorely empty stoop, gleaming and beautiful, I wonder if we are ever meant for anyone. If there are destination and label and a command for accuracy, I wonder if you were meant for me. Because it feels like you were, like you are. And if you and all your lost moments made your way to me, I'm grateful for every misgiving, every mistake, every second that felt just a little too late. I'm grateful for the hardship, and I'm grateful for the pain. I'm grateful that I get to know you, and I know it all sounds very plain, love and to be loved and to question such a love, but it takes up so much of my time. For your presence is medicine, and I adore it so dearly when it's mine. I get it now, why you were worried while I was away. You understood my preciousness and worried that I would wander someday, that you didn't deserve the wild inside of me, and instead of finding your growl, you attempted the art of taming. See, I understand now For I found nature inside flesh, and when I forget that I am feral too, I wonder if I am too tame for you. But I am seeing the facets, the light shining through a crystal face, that we are all a little lost, and we are all set to a certain fate. If you're going to wrap chains of obligation around your throat, you better make sure they feel fucking good. And that you pick a safe word, that you understand you are never truly stuck obliging past iterations of yourself, expectations, skins that no longer fit you. If you're going to suffocate for this life, I hope it's under horrendously beautiful circumstances. That the smoke you inhale reeks of storytelling and pine trees, that the hands that grasp at you are calloused for all the right reasons. That those chains are ones you made to remind yourself that you are alive, not the ones our broken history has handed to us. If you are obligated to anything in this life, I hope it is the very truth that you are living, and that you know living to be an expensive thing, a wild, expressive thing, a constantly growing thing, that you only gag and choke and chain yourself in love to what it means to be you. People don't write about the long love enough, about the moments that love peaks and you imagine there's no higher peak to be reached, and the sun rises and you realize the world never stops trying to touch the sky. That love hasn't a peak, because if I'd heard of this type of love, I'd have understood why it happens so slowly, why it takes months to whisper the words, why it takes years to admit the depths of entanglement. I'd like to say I'd have been slower too, that I would have savored every drop, but I am far too ready for that. I would have been frenzied and passionate, maybe more so than I was. But I'm glad for the way love makes me hesitate, long enough to dance, pause to savor the moments, appreciate what I have. I don't know how to ask you to hold me. What I really mean is, I don't know how to walk away from situations that no longer feed me. Rather, I manage the outcomes so that you don't even realize how I've softened all my corners to spare your blind shins. Covered all the light sockets so that you can't find reasons to stick forks in them. What I've done is pretended I'm safer than I am, because there are edges and electricity in here. There are skeletons in these closets, whispers and creaking floors. It's tragic, really, how I feel I must hold your hand into loving me. As if you weren't made for love like an old home, with trick doorknobs and splinters from paint-chipped porches and work to be done. As if you weren't made to hold what is dear to you. I don't know how to ask you to hold me. What I mean is, I'm learning that there is no way to truly soften the lightning that runs through these veins. No measure to be taken against my textured skin. Not even I can remove my wild and make holding nature an easy thing. So what I'm really saying is, I hope my love doesn't harm you. That you are built for thunderstorms and long days. That you appreciate the splinters as much as you appreciate the sunset child chasing that gave them to you. I'm learning to ask you if you can handle these things. Every time I ask you if you'll hold me instead. Oh, to the life that whispers, sudden sweetness, something surprisingly daring, a life that makes me tip over in my chair and crane my ear just to take it in that much better, and to the bits that make me sink, slow, sense, a dripping and melting mess, the way your eyes do under meaning, how our limbs fight for freeing, a cursive skin wrapped screaming, the juice from limbs of trees that ancestors prayed I would eat, lessons in languages that touched every continent before it meets me. A childlike wonder for the things we hold so very dear. I am so loved by him. It's something new to me, and they don't talk about it enough, the itch of healing. Yeah, they tell you there will be tears and panic. Yeah, they tell you it's a process, non-linear, a place of acceptance. But what they don't tell you is the panic feels like I can't breathe sometimes. And when you're kind, I wonder if I'm broken inside, if I will always remember the ghosts of how they hurt me, screaming louder than the laughter growing in my heart, for you make me feel safer than I ever thought I could. I think maybe I wasn't built for this. The sweet kind of loving, the healing kind of loving, panic whispers lies like sermons, and I wonder if this is my religion. Let's go to church, they say. Where we'll do the work and they tell us who to be. Let's go to church, they say. The anxiety. But I wasn't built to pray at a pew. I was built for fire, white linen, and witch's flesh in view. I was built to handle whispers and panic and change. No matter how much they tell me, I will not love in vain. Take me to church, they say. Maybe it's time to change what I'm being fed. Do you know what no means? I don't. See, because no has always been a hint or a hue of an answer, a whitewashed paint stroke, a maybe, a come again, a try again, a do it anyway. No holds no firmness in my world. And I want to blame them, those who asked twice or 3 times or maybe even more. I want to blame the way I add just or a giggle or I have a boyfriend and maybe I can. I want to blame the first man in my life who held his word like a sieve holds sand, teaching me that my boundaries should move to meet him, and I have. Blamed him, all of them. Some of them deserve it, others are just as lost as I am, and I wonder what the fuck no means. Because the cells in my body reject it like a gun I don't know how to fire. I should have been taught this one. There should have been a license, an official to prove that I have sovereignty, something I can show a hall pass, maybe to prove that it's not my job to be pleasing. That the smile I wear is for me alone, and my flesh that plays music of pleasure better than the bass of my cello between my knees is sacred. You're only allowed to listen if you learn how to read, and I want to blame them. All of them. For the way no feels dirty. You'll be changed by this world, you fool. It's the best thing we have here, the space to step off cliff sides praying for thin air to hold us, because sometimes it does. Sometimes the air is fuller somehow. Sometimes we fly. And when we don't, we think, you fool. Why would you be so daring? Why would you step into spaces with no capacity for you? How dare you be so big? They say, I see how easily you bleed, how mangled you've allowed your body to grow. How dare you be so big, you fool? It's the very best thing this world has to offer, space for us to prove how wildly powerful we are, so I will leap off as many mountainsides as I need to. I will collect myself off the asphalt of the world, and I will leap again, because sometimes even the atmosphere feels thin, and the sun knows only darkness. Even you, in your cosmic love, even you forget how safe your arms can be, so I will leap, and I will believe in the way this world can hold me, you fool. It's the very best this world has to offer. Some of the ladies that do well in this field have posted around 1,000 times. So what if I did that too? Came up with 1,000 poems all speaking to some specific truth. Maybe if I do that, I can really start to sell some books. And then I'll have even more permission to write and to search. I think I might do this weird challenge of mine. If in the next 3 months I could be spilling a different kind of rhyme, something like I did it. I made it. I proved it to myself. Maybe then it will ring of something so very fun to say, something like, I'm a writer, spoken with absolutely no sway. And my voice could help so many from the feelings of being alone. What if I did this? Became a writer to most every home. I think I must do this. It's something that feels right, to reach as many people as I can, as we love and we fight. And if I'm being honest, a single human would do. If one person out there sees me, then I suppose it's already true that I am a writer. See? No sway in my voice. I guess I already made it. That most important choice to become what I desire. It's really very plain. I decided one day I wanted it, and the rest I was happy to change, because no story could be better than what I found on the page. It's my story, and I think I'll write it my way.
They used to call me the sun, and I think that's when I first learned how important it was to burn in this world. That what I am is combustible in the right way, in the lighted up sort of way, because it lets people see themselves. Have you ever looked at yourself, gotten comfortable with the texture on your skin, the places so wildly unique we are told not to let love into them? Have you stood long enough in front of dirty glass to see that your face is like the rings on Jupiter, the beginning to a world we have yet to conquer? Have you touched yourself with love in hand? Made sure your body knows how safe it is? Have you taken the time to understand you are here, rushing through expansion in a space we lack comprehension, looking, searching, feeling for resolution, for foundation, or maybe just a sense of protection? Have you realized that your body is magnetic, is static, here for something we've decided to call magic, that you are meant to burn like the sun, and love the way everything changes when you do, that your light makes others melt, become completely unglued, that you are beautiful, sensational, something to be worshipped. That just like the sun and the moon and all of the planets, your body is truly cosmic.